Hi guys, welcome to my video where in this video I shall be talking about how Africa has been manipulated to think that they are inferior to the West. And I'm gonna start by actually looking at the civilization that was existing in Africa before the West actually made their way to Africa. And I will be able to narrow everything down because I can't talk about everything, like all of the civilizations that actually existed in Africa. So I have decided to narrow everything down to the most famous civilization that existed in North Africa, which is the ancient Egyptian civilization. They try to turn it like before the West got to us, there was actually nothing we could offer, or there was no kind of civilization that was actually going on in the continent of Africa. So I'm going to take the ancient Egyptian civilization as our case in this video. So we are not inferior. Yeah, before we encountered the West, we had valuable customs, we had valuable traditions, we had valuable cultures, which we can't just turn them down. Even though I'm saying we can't, but we have already turned them down in favor of the Western civilization. So these are things that we need to start, researching and going back to the roots, because a lot about the Western civilization has really failed us, has failed Africa. That is why you see, even after independence, which is approximately 60 years of independence now in most of the countries in Africa, they are still wallowing in poverty. They are still living a terrible life that no one can imagine, that after saying that you have been approximately 60 years of independence, you can't still do anything, because we are trying to mimicking the civilization of the West, which is not something that can actually help us. And the West has just placed everything in such a way that as we keep on mimicking their civilization, we would not be able to progress as we think. So it is high time we start going back to our roots. And before going back to our roots, we should be able to have confidence in ourselves that we can do things that will actually move us from where we are to where we want to go. So I shall be bringing to you the ancient Egyptian civilization and what are the peculiarities of this civilization. So I'm going to do a little bit of reading, and this reading is going to be summarized because I don't want this video to be that long. So I'm going to start with the first invention of the ancient Egyptian civilization. We have what we call the hieroglyphic writing. The hieroglyphic writing. So let me read. Now, the Egyptians developed a complex system of writing known as hieroglyphics, which use symbols and pictures to represent words and sounds. Now, this system was used for religious texts, inscription, and official documents. Remember that the ancient Egyptian civilization was one of the first civilizations to exist in the world. And this civilization is in Africa, North Africa. Remember, it is one of the first civilization to exist in the world. We invented writing. The art of writing was invented in Egypt. And this type of writing, like I've just said, was called hieroglyphic writing. Now, I'm going to move to the next form of invention. Now, we have architecture and engineering. Architecture and engineering. Today, most of the concepts that we learn in architecture and engineering all comes from the West. What happened to what was discovered in Africa? What happened to this? Now, let me read. Now, the construction of monumental structures like the pyramids, temples, and obelisks showcase their advanced engineering skills. Now, the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, is a prime example of their architectural ingenuity. So that's it. On to mathematics. Now, we all think that everything about education comes from the West. And I must let you know that there are concepts in mathematics that were actually discovered in Egypt, found in Africa. Now, what about mathematics? Let me read. Now, the Egyptians made significant contributions to mathematics, particularly in geometry, which they used in land surveying and construction. So that's actually what they were using geometry in, land surveying and construction. Now, they also had a calendar system that included 365 days, which was crucial for agricultural planning. So that's another one. So I shall be moving to the next invention, which is medicine. So now we see most, like especially some of the leaders and the rich people back in Africa, when they are sick, what they do is they fly to maybe some of the Western countries for medical attention. But we fail to understand that there's a lot that we have been doing in the medical field. It is not like the West came and taught us things about medicine that we didn't know anything. No. Now, had it been that the West did contact us, now the development of all this that I've been reading would have been advanced by now. So the problem is when we encountered the West, what happened is our own development stopped at that level, and we start looking towards the West for every sort of development. That's the problem in Africa. That's the problem. So let me read medicine. So ancient Egyptians were pioneers in medicine and had a good understanding of anatomy and medical treatments. Let me continue. So they said they practiced surgery, dentistry, and used various herbs and remedies. You see, they practice surgery. So now we often think like, oh, surgery is a Western invention. Oh, everything about surgery comes from the West. But we fail to understand that before the West came to us, surgery has been practiced in Africa. Okay, I shall be moving to the next one. I think this is about point number 6. Irrigation and agriculture. So the Egyptians developed sophisticated irrigation system to manage the flooding of Nile River, which enabled them to cultivate crops in an otherwise arid environment. This led to a stable food supply and the growth of their civilization. That's it. Okay, so I move to the next one, number 7, mummification. What is mummification? I read. Now, the process of mummification used to preserve bodies for the afterlife. Let me take it over again. It said the process of mummification used to preserve bodies of the afterlife demonstrated their advanced knowledge of chemistry and anatomy. So that's it. So I move to the next one, which is the discovery of clocks and timekeeping. The discovery of clocks and timekeeping. The Western world didn't bring clocks to us. Before they came, there were clocks existing in Africa. Okay, so they invented water clocks and sundials, which were used to measure time. Yeah. Now, these devices were important for religious rituals and daily activities. So that's it. They use timing for their religious rituals and their daily activities. So there were already clocks existing in Africa before the Western contact. Okay, number 9, cosmetics and personal care. Now, the Egyptians created various cosmetics, including kohl, eyeliner, and perfumes. Now, they also had a keen sense of personal hygiene and used soaps made from animal fats and oil. So before the Western contact, they exist detergents that we could use for our body. There were already perfumes existing in Africa before the Western contact. So this is just to show some of us that have forgotten about who we are, where we come from, how powerful is the place we come from, or how powerful was the place we come from. And now we are saying like everything that is in Africa right today about civilization is an invention of the West. We have been manipulated to accept that inferiority complex, that we couldn't do anything, which is a big lie. So that's all about what this documentary is about. In this channel, I shall be bringing to you some of the values in Africa, whether before the Western contact or even after the Western contact. And we need to keep to some of these values because they are all very, very important. I'm not actually like neglecting or trying to push back the Western civilization, but there are aspects of the Western civilization that we as Africans can copy, and there are other aspects that we should really get them to the background. We should ignore them. Now, if we can copy some of these aspects and we copy some of the other aspects that have been existent before, being it the ones that we have lost due to what I can call now that is loss of identity, because when the West actually made their way to Africa and they started their project of colonization, Africans have lost their identity because they keep following the West, forgetting about their own values, their own cultures, their own customs, their own traditions. We have forgotten about that and we all turn to the West, and it's actually failing us. So that's actually the purpose of this video. I shall be bringing to you more and more. So if you think that this content resonates with what you appreciate, you can do me a favor to subscribe to this channel, and why not like? Thank you so much. See you in the next one.